Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Commissioner Maritza Avila Vasquez. You can call me Maritza. And we're here today to talk about the animal control concerns that our citizens have. We have our staff, and Mr. O'Grady will have them introduce themselves to you. And we're here to try to come and resolve all the concerns with our residents. I know we have the pros and the cons, and somehow we have to come in the middle to help and everybody walk away happy with what we're doing. I'm an animal lover. I have 3 dogs, and I hear when people complain about dogs barking, I can understand because mine drive me crazy in my house. So, but they're my babies, so, I'm very gentle with them. And I also understand those who have negative complaints about the cats. But we have to come together as a community and resolve our issues, walk away, happy that we have come to an agreement and a solution for the problems that we have. Work with us. We want to work with you. Things don't happen overnight. We started a program that a lot of people like, a lot of people don't like, but with your help, with everybody's help, I'm pretty sure that we can make it a success. It started right, and a lot of people think that this can be done by a group of just 1 or 2 people. It cannot. It takes a whole community to get a program to work the way we all want it. Those of you, if I am being taped or listen at home, please, just let's come together and let's find a solution, to the problems so that the city can work with you on it. So without further ado, I'm just going to give you to Mr. O'Grady, and then everything else, if anything after the fact, you can beat him up, and he'll take it. Right, Mr. O'Grady?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. As the Commissioner said, my name is John O'Grady by the City of Deltona to help work through some issues in different departments, and code enforcement is one of them. And this is our 2nd round of town hall. The first round was for code enforcement specific, and then code enforcement has a couple roles. They do code enforcement, they do solid waste, and they do animal control. And as you'll see as we go along, that is a national best practice that they were already doing. This meeting will be specific, as the Commissioner said, to animal control and the animal control officers, and one of the programs that we have is the TNR program. So the mission of the code enforcement officer and the animal control officer is compliance. That is our main focus, is compliance. It's the health and safety of the animals that are within the city. Who are the code enforcement officers? They're your city employees. And one of the things I want you to look at when the supervisors come up here and speak and introduce themselves, they're going to give you their years of service. And you'll see that there are a lot of years of service here. And that is an indicator, of a person who likes their job and who's fulfilled in performing those duties. And that's important as we go along. What the animal control officers do is they enforce the state statutes and the city ordinances as passed by the city commission. The primary focus, once again, is the prevention for animal neglect and cruelty, going for compliance through education and information to the citizens out there. So on our first response, education, information. Second response, we have to take it to the next step, and that's what they'll end up talking about. So I'd like to first introduce Supervisor Gibson.
Good evening. My name is Mark Gibson. I'm currently one of the 2 supervisors for the City of Deltona, Animal Control and Code Enforcement and Solid Waste. I started with the city in 1998 as a permit clerk, and as of now, I'm currently supervisor. What I'm going to try to do is give you a brief history of our animal control. As most of you know, we were incorporated in 1995. So the residents wanted a higher level of government service in the community. Well, the city established its own animal control unit in 1997. So the city, utilizing best practices, combined animal control with code enforcement in 2004. This allowed the department to provide a more efficient service for the residents of Deltona. Our staffing history. As you can see, in 1997, we only had 2 animal control officers for a population of 57,000 people. Now, you'll notice that there's an increase in animal control officers in 2008. Well, if you remember, I told you back in 2004, they combined animal control and code enforcement, so that's what gave you the increase in animal control officers. But keep in mind that, that you'll see a decrease coming in 2010 because in 2008 we had the recession. So we're currently staffed right now with 12 officers, and the population is now, as you can see, is up to 94,000. So what I'm gonna do is have Danny Ron come up here today and finish this portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. My name is Danny Ron. I am the Customer Service Supervisor for the Department, Building and Enforcement Services. If you happen to call City Hall to put a complaint in, that's the department I'm in charge of. Our dispatcher for animal control, she's actually here, and one of the presenters, her name is Patty Mullins. I've been with the city since 2003. I was in their shoes, animal control code enforcement officer for 15 years, in the last 2 for the current position. My first slide has numbers. We've been using this for the code enforcement and also now for the animal control. As you can see, animal complaints is the third most calls that we get for in our department. It did go down from 19 to 2020, and that could have been, I'm thinking, is because more people were home, you know. A lot of times the calls that we get is during the daytimes when the homeowners are not home, they're at work, kids are at school, and the dogs, they're out there running around. So those numbers went down, but everybody's back at work this year. I'm sure those numbers are going to go back up. But it is the third top on the list for code enforcement response. These are some of the categories we, as animal control officers, deal with. Animal at large, you know, the loose dogs, nuisance animals, cruelty cases, found animals, prohibited animals, deceased animals, wellness checks. And some of these we'll cover a little further down in the presentation. Now, how does a responsive city government provide animal control services for the benefit of the entire community? Being reactive and proactive. Reactive, there's many ways to put a complaint in through our department, so we can start a code case. On the left-hand side are all those different methods. Our main one is our phone calls. Our phone is pretty busy all day long. I have to cover Patty when she's not available, and that phone is nonstop. 386-878-8701, it's the number. Also, we have an app. You can use it in Android or iPhone users. It's Deltona My 311. That's another method. We have a city website. Throughout the city website, different locations on there, so you can put a complaint in or question, and it definitely gets routed to us. We also have an email. It's acontrol@deltonafl.gov. Within the last couple of years, we have a Facebook page now that the officers, they post their found dogs, animals on that page. And this is it. Lost Animals of City of Deltona. Now, once they do pick up the animals, we're hoping by the time we make that trip, in that afternoon, homeowners, friends, family that recognize the dog can call us. That way we return the dog before we make that trip. Other things we do check once we do pick up the animal, we take the photos, but all the trucks have scanners. They'll scan that dog and hoping, that pet, hopefully there is a chip on the body of that animal. And I'm hoping the information on that chip is current, because a lot of times we get excited when we find a chip, but when we start researching it, the information is not correct or was never updated, which is, the stuff is there, let's hopefully people use it. We added this to the slide, but yes, walk-ins. We do get walk-ins to the City Hall to put complaints in, and we'll definitely take them. Proactive. The officers are already out in the field. They're already out in the community. If they notice a violation, they'll stop, start a case, and address the violation while they're out in the field. Some of the calls that we receive that you might not see on that one side is aggressive dogs. We definitely want to contain these animals. When we do get the calls, we'll make that a priority. We definitely want nobody getting bitten. But if there was somebody did get bit, there's added procedures we have to do that. All bites to humans get reported to the Volusia County Health Department, and we place that pet under 10-day quarantine. We deal with nuisance animals, a lot of snake calls here in Florida, and it goes by seasons. We do get, sometimes we have to deal with alligators. We only could take care of the small ones. If there's anything larger than, I believe, 4 feet, correct? We'll call the experts, Florida Wildlife Commission. They'll send a trapper to assist us with that nuisance alligator. Animal cruelty. It could be a no water, no proper shelter kind of case. It might not take that long, or it could be a serious case. Neglect, not adequate medical attention when it's required, those kind of things. We definitely address those. Basic notice that we leave on the, at the property if the homeowner's not there is a door hanger. Some of the top basic complaints, we'll list them with a reinspection date, and we're hoping by the time we come back in, for that reinspection, the violation has been taken care of. We prepared a flow chart, kind of give you an idea of how a case will start and, and throughout the process. I'll say the most basic one, like the ones we get most of the day, is animal alarm, dog loose. If we get the complaint, we'll dispatch an officer over the radio. We'll enter the case. That way they have the information in the computer system when they arrive. So look at the notes. They arrived on scene. They might not see the dog. The dog might be already home, so they'll close out the case. That's one one. Next one, let's just see they did find the dog. We'll try to impound. Hopefully we can impound. We'll impound that dog. We'll take a picture of the dog. We'll scan it to a chip. So hopefully we have that information on there for the homeowner. And just keep it with us, and hopefully we can return that dog before the end of the day when we make that trip. Let's just say we don't, it will go to our local Humane Society. We have 2 contracts, New Hope in the Land, which is a smaller facilities, but the main one we use is up in Daytona, which is Halifax Humane Society. So we're hoping we find the owners. Let's just say we did find the owners, sometime during the daytime. If there's no issues with the dog, we'll return the dog with no problems. Let's just say we did find an issue. Let's just say maybe licensing, vaccination. None of that information was on the dog, on the collar. We'll do a follow-up. We'll say we'll put it out for 7 days. That's the basic time to give, unless they needed more time. We work with them. We'll go back then after that reinspection date, and hopefully it's been corrected. If it's just licensing or vaccination, or even a visit to the medical doctor, because maybe we've seen something that might be an issue with the pet. We want to make sure that's being taken care of. If it's not taken care of one time, we go back to do that follow-up. We can continue it by either issuing a citation or taking it to the special magistrate. All right, we have some prohibited animals here. We don't allow, well, a couple of years ago, we did have somebody who had a monkey with a license, but no longer at this time, which is good. Florida Wildlife Commission controls all that. When it comes to, we don't allow wildlife being as pets. We do get calls for deceased animals. We don't put the deceased animal on the vehicle. We don't want to mix in with the live ones. It can cause issues, health issues with them. But we'll dispatch an officer to the location that they provided for the deceased animal if it was a domestic animal, and we'll try to see if it has a collar with tags, check if it has a microchip. If no owner is found, we do refer this to the Waste Pro. We have a contract with Waste Pro to pick up our dead animals throughout the city. All right, Ms. Angela Myers will continue presentation. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
And if anybody else has a question, I was told to let you know to come up here so they can, instead of them running around inside trying to find the person who's speaking. And this is a question from one of my residents that came to me. They wanted to know, where do we house the animals that we capture during the day, and how long do we keep them before we transport them to Halifax?
We do have a temporary shelter here in the city, but we don't want to keep them there too long. It's an air-conditioned structure. It's kind of, we have a location here in the city, but we don't want to keep them here too long because we don't have the staff to actually keep an eye on them all day long. That's what the Humane Society is there for. So hopefully by the end of the day, by the time that we make the trip, we do, hopefully we find the owners.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Meyer. I am Administrative Supervisor for Building and Enforcement Services and hearing clerk for the Special Magistrate. Today I'll be addressing the emergency services that the City of Deltona provide. Our officers answer to emergency calls from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. Just emergency calls, and animals at large are not considered emergency call unless they are involved in a dog bite or animal bite, and then we need to catch the animal. Also related to injuries, domestic injuries, and to help other agencies like the fire department and the police, and aggressive animals. When it comes to issues that continues without being corrected, some cases of animals are resolved by the special magistrate. One example is nuisance animals. That involves animals that are constantly at large, vicious animals, animals that barks over 15 minutes, disturbing the neighbors, and animals that attack other animals. Then the procedure for those cases are just like all the regular cases on code enforcement that goes through the special magistrate. We also issue civil citations for animals at large, and that is only resolved through to the county court. And also, the county court resolve issues related to cruelty and dog fights. And in all the circumstances, our officers, our animal control officers, focus and provide the highest level of service. So continuing now is going to be Patty addressing the TNR program.
Thank you, Angela. My name is Patty Mullins, and I've been with the city for only about 2 years. So I am the baby of the group. I'm the newbie, and I pick their brains every day. I think I make them kind of crazy. So for years now, we've had a feral cat population that has impacted the cities residing here in Deltona. And I think the main issue here is we have to figure out how we can balance the property owner's rights as well as pet owners' rights. And how do we, as a community, address this by using national best practice standards? I think that's a term that you've heard us kind of tossing around a lot, the best practice standards. And what that means is we're taking a look at how other municipalities and larger cities are dealing with their feral cat issues. It's not just here in Deltona, it's a nationwide issue. So we've been looking at these cities to adopt and implement best practice standards. So we've invested in the TNR program, and it's managed by volunteers. The goal of TNR is to stabilize the feral cat population. City monies fund veterinarian services, but they do not go directly to the volunteers. And the goal is to stabilize that population. So as long as everyone is clear with that, your tax dollars do not go directly to the volunteers. It pays for the veterinary services. Now, our TNR program is currently in the process of a comprehensive audit. We are looking at everything. We recognize that there are many sides to this issue, and that people who take a position either for or against are equally passionate. All sides must be weighed, and a determination will be made based on facts. So moving forward, regarding rules and ordinances, animal control officers do not get to decide how they perform their duties. I think it's key that everyone understand that they follow the lawful direction of their managers, city ordinances, state statutes, city policies, and procedures. Pet owners, they are required to obtain pet licenses for all dogs and cats in the city, and the way to do that is to present a valid vaccination certificate, like a rabies certificate. And also, our city ordinance does require pet owners to spay and neuter their pets. So with that being said, I'd like you to know, as you hear my voice, when you call 386-878-8701 with any kind of animal issue or complaint, my voice is the voice you're going to hear, and I am happy to help you. I do love my job. And with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Richard Lovett. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Richard Lovett. I'm one of the Enforcement Services Supervisor, and I've been with the city since 2000. I actually started as an animal control officer, and I was one of the two that we had at that point. So when we look at this, and I always say you always have to look at the past before you can move forward. So when we look at the past, we look at how our numbers we were doing. And every year we had a rising cost in the amount of animals we were taking to Humane Society. And like I always say, is we had a saying back when I started is you had 10 cats on the truck by 10 a.m. That never slowed down. It always stayed the same. You had more most of the time. So we saw the rising costs. So what do you do to try and find new ways to do that? So that's when the TNR program came along. We started looking at other places we're starting to adopt it. So, and that's why we started to adopt it. We were able to start seeing the effects from it. So looking at this, the TNR benefits, not only is there benefits in what it's saving us each year in costs to the Humane Societies, it's saving the amount of Humane Society room that they have to be able to put adoptable cats up instead of trying to house more feral cats. So it's not putting an overburden on them like it was the times before. But, and I say this, so every cat-related call takes an officer out of the city for an average of 2 hours. Now, how does that happen? It's a half-hour drive over to Humane Society in Daytona. It's a half-hour drive back. So as we get there, and like I say, if we have one cat on the truck, we don't have a place to take it we have to go to Humane Society. So if we take it over there, let's just say there's other cities in front of us, we have to wait to unload. If it takes an hour, it takes 2 hours, however long it takes, that officer's just sitting there. There's nothing he can do. He can't jump in line just because he's got one. Everybody else is waiting for their officers to get back in the city just as well. So it's saving our officers time back in the city to be able to work on what they need to work on and being here to respond to calls faster. So, and besides that, if we can keep them from going to Humane Society, that's saving us. That's saving a tremendous amount of money. So the future of animal control. So one of the things that we've looked at when we started looking at not only the TNR program is what else we could do. So we started looking at social media to try and reunite animals to the lost owners. So city went out and invested money into, we put scanners in every truck. Then we gave the officers, all the officers have an iPhone. So that way they can, as soon as they pick up an animal, they snap a picture, put it straight on Facebook, and we try and reunite it as fast as we can. Now, yes, the tags do help, and I will say this, we were able to reunite a dog that we picked up within 2 hours the other day. That's a great turnaround time for that dog being on the truck. But it wasn't his tags. His tags were at home and on his collar where he had slipped out of. It was his scanned chip that we were able to get him by. So yes, the tags are good, but sometimes they slip out. That's why we tell you, scan your animal with a chip, get a chip put into them. It always helps us get back to you. You just have to keep those updated. But we're always looking for new ways and always new avenues. The more we can keep these animals off the truck, the more we reunite them with the owners. You know, because things happen. We want to reunite animals as fast as we can, especially when things do happen. So the future of animal control. So you have to sit there and look at not only what's working elsewhere, national programs, international programs, and everything else like that. You start taking those best practices, what people are looking at, and start trying to figure out how that will work. Well, some of those things do work, but it's without the citizens' input, you don't know what works best for what we need. And that's why we're doing this, to try and get what's the best, what do these citizens need that will help them out in the future. So the idea is we start doing that, we start looking for more partnerships with outreach programs, stuff like that, so we can keep our number of impounds keeping going down. If we can have more ways to keep doing that, we can have more things that we can do for the citizens. All right, like we said earlier, so in 2004, we combined the departments. One department, 3 missions. So why is this such a great thing to do? And I can tell you from being an officer out in the field, I was the only officer out in the field. I went to Humane Society, get a call, an emergency call for aggressive dog. Guess what? I can't come. As soon as I can get loose out of Daytona, I'll be there. Well, it might be a couple hours. So it was, let's cross-train everybody. Let's have more officers. Let's invest in more trucks, have more people here. We have more backup. We have quicker response times. We can do all that by taking these 3 departments and do it into one, because we all do the same thing. We try to get the codes to be followed by the citizens. So by taking these 3 and putting them all into one, it helps us to be able to be more efficient for the citizens. So, and like we said before, we provide 7-day-a-week, 12-hour-a-day service. We do after-hour calls. We do after-hour calls for animal control, and we do that. We're always on call. There's always somebody on call. Even if we're closed for like Christmas Day, there is somebody on call for emergencies at all time. All right, so these are your officers that's out in the field now, and to kind of give you an understanding about them. All of our officers are certified animal control officers. 4 of our officers have more than the required credentials for just coming onto the job, and one of them's a national cruelty investigator. So it's not, these guys are not trained, these guys are trained and they love their job. All right, so with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. O'Grady for any questions.
So what we'd like to do now is open it up for any questions or comments or anything that we can answer. We want to try to keep it to the 10,000 foot level So if you have an issue with a neighbor, you can meet with us after, and we'll take the address, and then we'll follow up on that. But if the issue with a neighbor is a barking dog, we will be glad to answer the barking dog issue now. So if you can, the microphone's right there for anybody who has any comments or questions. Here we go.
Yes, sorry, I'm a little chatty, I guess.
That's okay.
I always come up to a microphone. I'm wondering, is there an ordinance for people to pick up after their dogs? We're the only neighbor in probably a half-mile area that walks her dog and always picks up after them. Nobody else does.
Okay, Mark?
Yes, ma'am, we have an ordinance that covers that. So if you would just give us a call in our animal control office in Patty and let us know, we'll come out and investigate it.
I mean, it's not bothering me, my property personally, but I just notice all these people walking dogs, they're not carrying any bags with them. They're not picking up anything. So, and we're finding everywhere.
It's just something you'd have to let us know as soon as possible because, of course, if we come out there, they aren't going to be in that same area but a certain amount of time. So it would help us to get the call as quick as possible. And we can dispatch over the radio.
Okay, thank you.
To further have a question on that, I was walking on her street on Sunday morning at 7:30, and across the street is a house that is in the process of being built. Just the foundation is there at the present time. And coming down the street on the opposite side from where I am is a gentleman whose dog defecated on the street. He picked it up and had it in a bag, and he threw it in the dumpster and kept walking. Now, I don't know the man. What would you? I certainly would not go up to this gentleman at that hour in the morning and ask him where he lives so I can report or take his picture. I'm 78 years old. I certainly am not going to attack anybody, and I certainly don't want to put myself in any danger because he didn't have his cup of coffee on a Sunday morning, and it can leave, I don't know what other people do.
Right, so once again, as Mark said, the sooner you can call us and we come out, snapping a picture, everybody has their phones out now, snapping a picture so at least we can identify them and, or start the process of identifying them. And then if you happen a week later or somebody else sees him exiting the house, then we can identify the house and just go have a conversation. So that's the best that we can do as far as for that. Yes. All right. Any other questions?
So I know you talked about like when you pick up loose dogs and the process. So if a dog is picked up, it doesn't have a chip, it doesn't have a tag or any way to identify who an owner might be, but then somebody calls you and says, hey, that's my dog. What are the different methods you use to verify ownership? Because it's not all the time, but sometimes.
Richard?
If it's a specific breed, possibly, some people might come up and say that's my dog and it's not really their dog because it's a desirable breed of dog.
We can ask for vet records on the animal. Plus also, if somebody owns an animal, they've got a picture on their phone. And that's one of the things we'll look at is look at their picture.
You would hope so. And then along the lines of microchipping, and I know you said at last night's meeting that you've had some meetings with the county as far as different services and type of that. Is there any discussions of them bringing one of their microchip events closer to Deltona? I don't know if that's logistically easy for them to do, but they've like every quarter done a free microchipping event. But
Yeah,
from
and that's part
Deltona,
of-
that's a half-hour drive, and waiting in line, if there's any way to get them down on this
That
side
is
of the
part of the,
county.
the conversations that we're having. Any program in the rest of the county is to come, we want to be part of that rotation. So
Okay.
yes. Mhm.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? I think everybody's watched the last 2 or 3 that we've had. Well, good. So in closing, and I'll turn it back over to the commissioner, but just to let you know, the TNR program, which was probably the initiator of the animal control town hall meetings, just to let everybody know, we're in the process as a city of reviewing the entire process and implementing best practices. So it is a great program, and it's going to stay here. It just may not be in the same structure that it currently is. So we have some great volunteers that we're working with. And one other thing that I was talking to the commissioner about earlier, and she had asked, can residents have a ride-along with our code enforcement / animal control officers? And the answer is yes. We need to put some paperwork in place right now for liability. But if anybody is interested, then you would just call code enforcement and ask to talk to one of the supervisors, either Mr. Gibson or Mr. Lovett, and then we will make it happen. So, Commissioner?
And I think that, I know that with the fire department, you have to sign a waiver, but I think that would be an interesting, thing for the residents to do, take a ride with our staff and see the kind of work that they have to do and, what they come in front of them. You'll get a better understanding of, what kind of job they do and stuff, and maybe work with them better to get the job done. We're here to work with you. We're here to please you and take care of the problems. And hopefully together we can find a solution to come together and agree on something. We can't do it all at one time. The same way that our population of residents is growing, so is the number of pets, right? And unfortunately, we find people are moving out and leaving their pets behind. That it's a problem for the neighbors, a problem for the city as well. So, we need to come together and work together the best possible way we can. And that's what we're all here for, myself as well. I mean, my district is District 3, but I ran for the city of Deltona. So I'm here to help you, whichever district you live as well. Any questions, any problems, please feel free to reach out to us. If I can't help you, Mr. Peter will find someone, Mr. O'Grady will find someone to help you, come over to you or whatever needs to be done to get it resolved. But we can't do it overnight. It's going to take us time. And, all we ask is for you to work with us on this. So we appreciate you coming out. And hopefully we'll have more of these residents getting together with the city of Deltona. We welcome your comments. Please write to us. Let us know. I know that you always are sending us ideas, and I'm always forwarding to Mr. Peters. Hey, Mr. Peters, this is a great idea, and he welcomes everything and goes over it with our code enforcement and stuff. So please, you might have something, idea that we haven't thought about, or maybe you moved from somewhere that did something differently than we're doing that we might incorporate into our policies that might work for us. People complain because I bring up a lot of ideas of New Jersey, but sometimes it works, right? Coming from a bigger city into a smaller city, these ideas do work for us. So thank you again for coming out. I want to thank staff for being out here with us, all around us. Mr. Peters is here as well, and Ron is here to help us with the ideas, okay? So if any more questions, I thank you again, and get home safe. By the way, I know it has nothing to do with pets, but today we had the Department of Motor Vehicle out here renewing license, and they're going to be here again June 24th. So take advantage of it. It was awesome. I was in 10 minutes, I was out. Okay?